Welcome to spvessel. I didn't make new videos for a long time because I was busy not only with my stuff, but improving the framework functionality and stability. Today I will tell you about new features and I hope you will like them. New features will be explained by 3 test applications, which I hope so will interesting for you. So let's start. What I'd like to say: 25% of the projects was refactored. Some architecture changes has been made and a lot of bugs was fixed. Some of the new features forced me to make such a big refactoring, but it was worth it. Creating and customizing windows has been simplified. The framework new versions has simplification in the class core window. You can see the difference on the screen. On the left there is an old version of window creating, and the new version is on the right. The first thing you can see is the window layout class was removed. You don't have to create the object anymore and send it anywhere, and it would be better to forget about it at all. All the operations are available now from the core window class. It makes Windows creating and using easier. Multi-window support on macOS X. Due to the new architecture and changes in the window creating and managing system, multi-window is available now on macOS X and more stable on Linux. Improved code compatibility for all operating systems. I will show some new features with an example. Simple image viewer. You can find the code for the Net Core and JVM on GitHub. Creating of the program took something about 3 hours, and 1 more hour for the porting it on JVM. I am too glad that programming with the framework is quite fast. New features of the image item. The program is a gallery for images and photos. Here I used an image item, so at first I will show its new abilities. First of all, the aspect ratio maintaining. This property is very useful. There is also a rotation of the image. There is a new property, color overlay, in the image item. The property redraws the image in the specified color. It is useful for the partly transparent icons in applications. For example, you could change the icon color after some event. On the screen you can see the color overlay using. For the image item especially, the image rendering performance was improved. The new rope grid element was added. The rope grid is a new framing container. It is a grid of elements with scrolling and scaling abilities. Also it has auto arrangement of the columns and rows number based on the item's height and width. Rope grid can be used with one of the orientation ways, horizontal or vertical. Rope grid also has stretch property. The property stretches rope grid's elements on the available space. The new side area element was added. Side area is a slider container. It can be attached to one of the Windows sides, left, right, top and bottom. In the simple image viewer example, side area using for the album list storage. Double-click on one of the albums, open all images in the specified directory. The new loading screen element was added. Loading screen elements blocks all application window elements. Also it shows the percent completeness information of some long task that should block the application. In the case the long task is loading and adding mini images from the directory into the rope grid. New Open Entry dialog was added to open or create files and folders. Open Entry dialog is a new item for working with files and folders. It can be used to open or save files or folders. Also it has an extension filter. The usage is the same as the message item. New core window opportunities. Now it is possible to drag and drop files and folders from the system to the core window. On the screen you can see how it works. Also the core window now has save events, event on start and event on close. The events describes window behavior when it starts or closes. In the simple image viewer example, event on start launch the image loading process from the folder pictures to the rope grid. Due to the new GLFW version 3.3, the framework has window transparency now. Transparency can be used to make shadow under the window or glowing or window with a custom shape. New prototype opportunities. Event mouse leave event was added. Using event mouse leave, one can describe an event when cursor left an object. In the simple image viewer example, event mouse leave returns an icon default color when cursor left it. The overridable release method was added to prototype class. One can use the method to free resources cached by the item before the item will removed, for example to clean events and input-output streams. Also, method clear was added to prototype class. The method is for cleaning all nested elements. It is convenient to use it with containers. In the simple image viewer example, the method calls for the rope grid item before loading a new folder to remove all old mini images. New cursor abilities. Now you can choose one of the built-in cursor icons or download your own PNG image. For example, the cursor image could change after some events. As you can see, the opportunity is quite useful. If you saw the first video on the channel, you could remember it was a little hard to find the borders of elements. 21 icon images were added. Each image has two sizes, 32 by 32 pixels and 64 by 64 pixels. SpaceVIL now contains 21 useful images. Here you can see the image list. Also, you can see some of the images everywhere in the simple image viewer example. The Open Entry dialog actively uses the images as well. There is some changes of using the interface floating and floating items. The usage becomes more easy and comfortable. New framework version provides easier floating items creation. Now in the elements constructor, you have to add it into the global elements storage. And that's all. New Window Manager class was added. Window Manager class provides safe open and close window functions. Using Start With method, one can set several windows to open at the same time. Also, the class can be used for rendering frequency managing for all windows. Also, I'd like to notice, vertical and horizontal stacks has content alignment property now. Label is multi-line now. Message box and message item use is now the same. Also, the element have user button support. New input dialog item. Tab view and tab elements have been significantly improved. In style class, shadow property was added. In style class, default common style was added. In style class, clone method was added. I have tried to tell about the most significant and useful changes, but it is not all changes in framework. There are a lot of improved elements in the framework, such as text area, text edit, password line, tree view, tree item, split area, list box, context menu, combo box, and others. The draw engine has a lot of improvements and optimizations as well. Okay, let's make a new element now. I will show you how to make your own complex container element. The element has container, floating item and interface draggable features at the same time. These features will show the opportunities of unique SpaceVIL elements. I call the new item radial menu. The element is container for circled contacts. Also, the item is floating and independent. It displayed above both items of the window. The radial menu contacts will be able to move in a circle. Now you can see how the radial menu works. Let's see what we have to do for this. I have to say that all SpaceVIL complex elements work like this, which means you can remove all complex elements from the framework and make them yourself. For example, if you don't like grid container, you can make your own MyGrid using common rules for creating containers. First of all, the radial menu is an independent floating item. Such items appear above static elements and can't be added into any other element. For example, pop-up message, context menu, any dialog items, message item, open entry dialog, and etc. These are all floating items. To make floating item, the class should implement interface floating. Interface contains 5 methods, but for the example we need only 2 of them. Hide. Method for hiding floating item. Show. Show the floating item. Other methods is outside click closable and set outside click closable are for hiding or not hiding the element by outside click. Overload method show with arguments if you want to know which item calls the floating item and how it did it. For example, context menu item corrects its position by the data. Now let's describe the methods. isOutsideClickClosable return false and setOutsideClickClosable will empty. Show with arguments calls show method. The show method. First of all, we have to initialize the element, but we have to do it only once, when the show method will be called for the first time. So let's make flag value is init. The value will checked in the show method. By default the value is false. We will set it true in the init elements method. In the item constructor, we should add itself into the global item storage like this. Items layout box, add items, window, this, layout type, floating. And forbidden put events passing through the element using method setPassEvents false. And that's all. The floating item is done. Now I will turn the item into a container with its own arrangement for inner items. The framework has 3 interfaces for such containers. The interfaces partly or completely disable the standard items arrangement. Interface HLayout disables horizontal arrangement only, while vertical works. The example is a horizontal stack. Interface VLayout disables vertical arrangement only, while horizontal works. For example, vertical stack, list box, tree view. Interface FreeLayout disable both horizontal and vertical arrangement. For example, grid, rope grid and free area. I will use this one. The interface FreeLayout has only one method, updateLayout. In the method we describe the arrangement rule. The radial menu will provide quick access to favorite contacts, so it will contain inner contact items. Also, I add 2 buttons, to add a new contact and to close the radial menu. Contacts are arranged in a circle around the close button. The distance between the contacts is the same. I will describe the updateLayout method in outline, without all the math stuff. In the method, each inner item should be set in its own place. The following methods do it: update control button position, rearrange contacts. Add items and remove items methods was overridden to separate any other inner items from contact items. Set width and set height methods should be overridden to call the updateLayout method when element size changes. As you can see, everything works as planned. After items arrangement, let's make items scrolling. To do this, I use the interface draggable. The interface provides event mouse drag and event mouse drop events. To make items scrolling, it is enough to describe these events. Oh, and one more event. Event mouse press. In the event mouse press, I count the angle by the window center coordinate and cursor coordinate. In the event mouse drag, I use the same computations to count the difference between starting and current angles, and call the rearrange contacts method. On the screen you can see the result. Source code is on GitHub for Java and C# versions. The link is in the description. The example describes how to construct containers, floating and draggable items. But it is not all interesting things in the example. Also, you can see styling here. Now I will show you how to create a style, how to add a style support to an item, and how to set the item style in the theme. Let's start with creating a complex style. The radial menu contains hide and add buttons. I would like to set styling for the buttons right inside the radial menu. The way is like the CSS one. First of all, I create all 3 styles. For the radial menu, hide button and add button, and set the button styles into the radial menu style as inner styles. In the radial menu, the method setStyle should be overridden with the new rules. On the screen you can see the simplest way of usage. This way one can get an access to the visual part of the inner private element to style it. To add the style in the theme, we can just put it there like this. And that's all. I have to notice one more thing. It is obvious, but it might be useful. You can turn your own items into a library. Okay, let's see. I move the codes of the items radial menu item and contact with styles in separate projects. Mark these projects as libraries. To compile, one must include the SpaceVIL. Each project consists of the class item file and appearance file. In the file we provide default item style. After building both projects, we will get 2 item files. The last thing we need to do is change the project to use new libraries. To do it, let's copy new libraries into libs directory and remove all duplicate code from the project. That's all. It is compiled and launched successfully. So you could create a new container, dialog window or complex item and share it with your colleagues, friends or community. It works for the .NET platform as well. In conclusion, I would like to know a couple of things. Are there enough GitHub examples or would be better to make some lessons? And would you like to see usage patterns and rules for each element on the site spvessel.com? That's all, thanks for watching and good luck!